So now we're into part 2 of chapter 2 chapter 2, part 2, whatever you want to call it. We're talking about the hero's journey, because if Han Solo is based on American mythology, which is kind of different than the regular hero's journey, Luke Skywalker is the ultimate face of the hero in the hero's journey. And Campbell's writing inspired George hugely. And as George was working on Star Wars. And it is the exact opposite of what critical theorists want to talk about when they talk about Western masculinity and heroism. The hero with 1,000 faces. The hero goes on this journey, he's called to adventure, then he refuses, then he meets a mentor and starts on the way. He crosses a threshold, he goes into, basically gets into a lot of challenges and situations that are hard to handle, goes through ordeals, trials, and goes into an abyss. Has a revelation and changes. He reaches atonement for whatever mistakes he made and gets a gift, and then he returns changed. Okay, that is the hero's journey. Here's a little flowchart kind of thing that you've got. It's a little more involved, but it's pretty basic, I think. And it's exactly the opposite of the deconstruction. This is the thing that these philosophers of the Frankfurt School wanted to destroy. Again, they came to America, looked around, saw a bunch of people that were very happy, and were horrified, so they decided they were going to do something about it. And they, again, like I said, created a whole culture of Marxism within the creative arts to undermine the culture that's based on the hero's journey. Christ himself is the ultimate hero on the hero's journey. Think about it. All right? That is the story that our whole world in the West is based on. And there's been 100 years of trying to undermine it. So what does this mean for Star Wars? Well, Luke Skywalker, again, like I've said, is the face of the hero's journey as far as Star Wars goes in pop culture. We see him as a farm boy. He's bored. He wants to do something. He knows the rebellion's going on, and he'd like to join it. And that's going on. He runs into the droids, R2-D2 and C-3PO, and they're the heralds. There's always a herald in these stories, right? And he refuses the adventure right there. But R2-D2 runs off. He has to follow him. He gets beaten up by sand people. Obi-Wan Kenobi comes and saves him. And Obi-Wan is the mentor. In every hero's journey, there's always going to be a mentor. And Obi-Wan Kenobi reveals to him the supernatural forces around called the Force. Obi-Wan says he was a Jedi. Now, look at Luke's journey from there, and then look at this. When I talk about deconstruction, there's no way in hell Luke Skywalker would have taken his father's lightsaber and thrown it over his shoulder. That would not have happened. Rian Johnson is probably the biggest cultural Marxist on the planet. He is not a good writer. He is not a good director. He is actually a quite terrible person. He's a bully. He bullied Mark, and what they did to Mark Hamill alone in The Last Jedi, it should be a crime. It should be a crime. But let's go and see what was changed. All right, here we have Luke looking up at the twin sons, bored on Uncle Owen's moisture farm, and he doesn't really remember anything about being chased by somebody with a glow stick. Reva, but he wants this adventure. He doesn't want to be stuck on a moisture farm the rest of his life. He wants to go and see what the galaxy looked like. Now, you got to remember, Luke hadn't left Tatooine, right? So when he runs into Obi-Wan gives Luke Anakin's lightsaber, the one he picked up off the lava bed on Mustafar. And that is the lightsaber that Luke has. It's like being given a magic sword, right? And it kind of is. It belonged to the greatest Jedi that ever lived, Anakin Skywalker. Throughout the adventure in the first part, Luke crosses over and becomes a hero alongside Han Solo and Chewbacca. His hero's journey has just started, right? And he's not. This is not the end. This is the end of the beginning. The end of the beginning, right here. He gets a medal, and people look at him as being this person, this virtuous person. So in The Empire Strikes Back, he gets himself almost killed by a Wampa. Han has to come save him. And while he's delirious, Obi-Wan Kenobi says he has to go to Dagobah to learn from Yoda. Now, we don't know who Yoda is at the time. And so he's delirious, and when he comes out of it, he realizes that his quest is going to be on this planet called Dagobah. So he goes to this place. It's a Force Nexus planet, right? Time is different there. Yoda has been hiding there waiting for him. And Yoda is the mentor that is there to actually physically teach Luke how to be a Jedi and what the Jedi philosophy is and all of that stuff. When Luke goes into the cave, Yoda says, "Don't take any weapons." Luke takes a weapon. He goes into the cave and sees what he thinks is Darth Vader. So he slices off his head. The helmet cracks open, and it's Luke's face. It's what Luke fears the most, to become like Vader. Luke doesn't exactly know who Vader is, right? He has no clue that he's kind of closely related to Darth Vader. So when Han and Leia get captured and being tortured, Luke feels their pain and rushes away from Dagobah against Yoda's advice and goes to face off with Vader. This is the part of Revelation. This is the part where we are meeting the hero's abyss. He's gone through trials, challenges, etc. He's doubted himself. Yoda has made him look stupid a few times because he had to. But meeting Vader in this and then discovering Vader's true identity as Anakin Skywalker, Luke's father, was more than Luke could bear. And this is the true abyss, when Luke discovers that he is the son of literally the worst human being in the universe. The Emperor's right hand. And Luke refuses to join him there and decides, I can either crawl back and be his bitch, or I can kill myself. So he lets go. And he gets picked up by the Falcon. And we're now, because the middle of the trilogy is always going to be the dark point. We're in the darkest point that we were in the original trilogy is here. We don't know how they're going to save Han Solo. We don't know what's going to happen. And at the end, as they're escaping, Vader reaches out through the Force and calls to him, and he answers. But then they're gone. So Luke is not trained. He's not fully formed yet. But he's learned something from facing Vader the first time. And that is, he wasn't ready. He went off recklessly, and he might have gotten his friends killed, at least one of them killed. But let's talk more.
Her mommy is yelling no, and her daddy has told her to go, but her friend is nowhere to be seen. Now she walks through her sunken dream to the seat with the clearest view.
For 10 long weeks, the Star Wars company labored on the suburban London soundstages, bringing to life a film that had begun as an idea with George Lucas 3 years before.
So this is the part where we reach atonement. Luke, in Return of the Jedi, shows up at Jabba's palace after Leia gets captured and Han's thrown into the prison cell with Chewbacca to bargain for Han's life. And he has changed. The revelation of who Darth Vader really is has changed him, right? So he is very serene, he's very calm, and he shows up because he wants to save Han. His first impulse is to negotiate, which is what a Jedi would do. And Jabba would have none of it. In fact, Jabba was very unhappy Luke even showed up because you can't use the Force, the mind trick, Jedi mind trick, to get a Hutt to do anything. And Luke has to fight his way out and get Leia and Han out. And the challenge of the Rancor pit, he kills the Rancor. They get dragged out to the sand skiff to be dumped into the Sarlacc pit. And R2-D2's got Luke's lightsaber. Luke made a green one because, you remember, he lost Anakin's lightsaber in the duel with Vader. It just was gone. And there's a deleted scene where Luke is making his own lightsaber. And it comes out a green lightsaber. And that means the highest rank of Jedi. All right? And Luke gets the lightsaber from R2-D2 and starts going through Jabba's guards like hot knife through butter. After that's over, he goes back to Dagobah and witnesses Yoda's death. Yoda says, "You're not a Jedi yet. You still have to confront Vader." But Obi-Wan does something here. Obi-Wan reveals the entire truth of who Darth Vader is. Yes, Darth Vader is Anakin Skywalker. Yes, he's your father. Leia is your twin sister. All right, so Luke's got all that riding baggage. And when you start thinking about that whole situation, you suddenly realize it was as plain as a day on it, the plain as day. The only people that didn't realize it were Luke and Leia. And the reason why is because they weren't supposed to know yet. So Luke finds out Leia's a sister, and he has to go back to the Rebel fleet because they're getting ready to take down the second Death Star. And Luke offers to go with Han and Leia to take down the shield generator. And after the Ewok party, Luke tells Leia he has to leave. Leia asks why. And he says, because Darth Vader is my father. And she goes, no, take me with you. We can run away. And he's, no, I'm not going to do that. And then he tells her, you're my sister. And Leia's like, I know. I've always known. Right? There you go. So what we have is these two people that are connected by birth. They're almost like binary stars. Binary sunset, binary stars, binary souls. They're twins. And Leia doesn't know what to do because, Darth Vader is her dad. And, fine, Luke's my brother, but I don't want Darth Vader to be my dad. So she's having a tough time here. We don't get to see that. We'll talk about that more in tomorrow's video when I talk about Leia. And I'm going to have a lot to say about this, by the way. So Luke then leaves the rebels at the Ewok village and goes and gets picked up by an Imperial patrol and gets confronted by Vader again. The Emperor had told Vader he will seek you out, and Luke did. What we don't understand is I want to do a video about Anakin too. Darth Vader stopped being the Darth Vader we know about at the end of The Empire Strikes Back. If you remember when the Millennium Falcon suddenly just goes into hyperspace and it's gone, and it's just silent, Vader starts walking away with his hands folded behind his back. Admiral Piet is firmly convinced he's going to end up dead, going to get force choked, and Vader just lets it go. So the Emperor goads Luke into fighting Vader. They fight. Vader reads what Luke is thinking and trying to protect, and suddenly realizes he had a daughter, so he uses Leia to taunt Luke. If you won't turn, perhaps she will. And Luke loses his mind. And he's on the precipice of going into the dark side. But again, this is the atonement area. Steps back, tells the Emperor to shove it. The Emperor starts using blue lightning on him. Vader picks up the Emperor and throws him into the reactor core. And we get to the end of The Empire Strikes Back. Or the Return of the Jedi. Luke's journey is complete. He returns changed, period. Now, why, oh why, would Mark Hamill or Ryan Johnson want to do what he did to Mark Hamill? First off, Ryan Johnson's a bully. He is a little bully. And second of all, he is a cultural Marxist. He learned well. He is not a creative. He doesn't make films for the joy of the art. He makes films to indoctrinate people and to verify leftist dogma, to destroy white patriarchy. When we get into Leia, we'll talk more about that. And he did such a good job with The Last Jedi that people were so horrified by what they saw because it was obvious. It's not good filmmaking if your propaganda is so obvious that people are like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's not good propaganda. And The Last Jedi was a failure because of this Marxist, cultural Marxism that was all over it. From the destruction of Luke Skywalker, the non-mentions at all of Han Solo, not even a memorial, the Reylo shit, which was stupid, it's still stupid, to Vice Admiral Gender Studies, which we'll get into tomorrow, and Rose Tico. It was basically a balding idiot, round-headed idiot applauding Maoism, but disguised as fascism because that's what the Chinese are. They're not communists anymore. They're fascists. So, yes, this was a deliberate undermining and deconstruction of not just the hero's journey, Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. It was deconstruction of everything George Lucas created, right? And it was deliberate. Again, being woke is being a cultural Marxist, right? Being a liberal is not. There's a difference there. There's a huge gap between when you get Bill Maher complaining about it. You have to, people should step back and go, oh, he's right. Because it's true. It's true. But this is about Luke Skywalker and his journey and the true undermining of the character and the destruction of the character by the cultural Marxists at Lucasfilm. They're still there. And Ryan Johnson and Kathleen Kennedy, who's, just look at the art she collected, she's a Marxist. So this is Steph, signing off. I'll see you guys around the galaxy.